one more minute and we'll get going. Happy birthday, Open Mainframe Project. I'm so glad May didn't ask us to sing happy birthday. That might happen, but it won't happen in this session. 10 years of the mainframe project.
Yeah.
When you compare that to the mainframe, started a little late, which is perfect for our topic, right? And we can get started. All right, hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for hanging in there. Getting towards the end of the day at 4:15. Very busy tech exchange. Hope you're having a great conference so far. I am Sakach. I'm here with my colleague, Kelosky. And in this session, we are going to help you to understand how you can take your career to a new level. How many of you have taken your career to a new level already? Would you say? A couple? How'd you do it?
Johnny.
A little bit of hard work each day.
A little bit of hard work each day.
Take on a new challenge.
Take on a new challenge.
Keeping open-minded for sure.
Keeping open-minded.
Adapting to the change and learning the new things which are coming away, and considering mainframe as an environment, not a legacy system.
Sorry, I didn't hear all of that, but I think I got the general idea. Adapting to change and taking advantage of the new technologies and techniques. And how about raising your hand when somebody asks you to volunteer to do something? Right? That can do it too. I took my personal life to a new level by trying something that I didn't think I could ever do in a million years. And it was martial arts. And some of the techniques in martial arts are simple boxing techniques, like jab cross. How many of you know what a jab cross is? I do now. I didn't when I started. And to make matters worse, the instructor was facing me. So if you were my instructor, you're facing me. And he's trying to teach me jab cross. I'm dyslexic. So that added to the challenge, right? You're mirrored to me. And so that added to the challenge. Point being that in order for me to take myself to a new level, I had to try something that I knew nothing about. And I feared I would totally embarrass myself. And I'm happy to say that I didn't. And I achieved the highest level I could at the time. And I'm so thrilled that I was willing to do it. And I'm hoping all of you will be thrilled to learn something new and put yourself out there and volunteer to try something new. And Dan and I are hoping that by sharing what we've done and what we've learned, along with the technologies that make up Zowe, that you'll be motivated to do something similar. So we kind of broke it down into these 4 sections. Wanted to give you sort of a quick overview of the Zowe project, just to get an idea of, how is it formed, what's its purpose. Talk about the tools and the technologies, share some of our lessons learned, and then we have a homework assignment for you if you're interested in getting started. I'll just give you a quick tip on how to do that. So let's talk a little bit about open. How many of you have participated in an open source project? A couple of you? Was it what you expected?
Did you do it for free?
More or less? Yeah? And I think somebody asked, did you do it for free on your own time? I know some of you have. Yeah. Some of us haven't.
Yeah.
Okay. How many of you are interested in possibly contributing to open in open source. Hopefully, most of you here. Yes, because it can be a game changer, and hopefully we'll be able to explain why. I contribute to open source. It is part of my job. But I can honestly say that I chose to do this because we as mainframers are fortunate enough to be in a place in time where we are changing history. We have the opportunity to participate in open source on the mainframe. In some ways, just a few years ago, that probably was an oxymoron. We now have the opportunity to participate in this. I'm here for two reasons. One, it's my job, but two, because I want to be a part of this. And quite honestly, I did not know where I would fit in. I didn't think I had the background for it, nor the ability to make any kind of significant contribution. But what I didn't realize is it's not all about the code. A lot of it is the community. And I think many of you are probably realizing that. And that might be one of the reasons why you're here today. Here's what I mean. When we go to work every day, we sit next to our colleagues, or we virtually sit next to our colleagues these days. You know, we weren't necessarily responsible for hiring them. We don't know what drives them. We don't know whether or not this job is their dream job. We don't know what motivates them. When you're part of an open source community, regardless of why people are there, meaning paid or not paid, I can assure you, everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to contribute. Everybody is motivated, and everybody wants to succeed. So being a part of open and being a part of this community puts you in that bucket, and it automatically extends and expands your network of highly dedicated, proficient, and motivated people. And that alone is something worth shooting for, in my opinion. So let's take a step back and talk about what is Zowe. Everybody heard of Zowe? Yes? Question, is Zowe an acronym? Did you ever think about it? Did you think it was an acronym? No, it's not. It's not an acronym. It was the name that the Project Giza team came up with, I believe. Had to start with a Z, had to be catchy, and the domain had to be available. Those are the criteria that we used. If you're interested in the history of Zowe, by the way, there is a blog out there, sort of self-serving. I happen to write it at the 5-year anniversary. If you go to medium.com/Zowe and search on Zowe's 5-year journey, you'll learn about how Zowe came into being. But essentially, at the very basic level, we have mainframe in the middle, we have Linux Foundation on the right, and we have a bunch of vendors on the left. The Linux Foundation and Open Mainframe project sponsored the open source project Zowe, which was originally formed by a couple of these vendors that you see on the right and has grown to include other vendors, for the purpose of really coming together as an industry and solving the mainframe modernization challenge. And that's the simplest way I can put it. And so we decided that the industry standard needed to be open. Open Mainframe Project was willing to host it. And we are now creating history by participating in it. And as I mentioned, I didn't think that I would be able to contribute because, as you can all imagine, more than likely it's about the code. And yes, it is about the code. It's open source code and executables. And yes, there are times when we need to write new features, resolve issues, and do everything we can to ensure that the code works as designed, testing and whatnot. Well, what's interesting about open source is that if you have an issue and you're using it, you can solve it. Can't do that with other software. Now, maybe you're not in a position to do so, but nobody knows better how it's not working than you. Beyond the code, so here's where I come in. How can I contribute to this project? How can I make a difference? How can I help move this project forward? Because one, is part of my job, and two, I want to make sure that it succeeds. I have a vested interest in ensuring that the history of Zowe is successful, because we are making history in mainframe. How many of you write blogs? How many of you write requirements? Maybe? Do you even write an email? Maybe you write instructions for your colleagues. You know, if you're going on vacation and you're on call or what have you, and you want to make sure that they know what the protocol is. That's all part of documentation, and we have plenty of it in the Zowe community. There's an opportunity for you to help uplift that documentation. Now, we're not saying that you should jump in there and write a whole section on a new concept that we're developing, but here's where I'm having difficulty with some of our users. Nobody knows better than all of you doing the install where the documentation went wrong. And so giving you the ability to correct it as you go in the simplest manner possible, even if it's just sending an email or issuing a pull request or what have you, you have the ability to make a difference right then and there. You're a contributor. We also have areas of community building. What we're doing here today is part of community building, along with other conferences, along with webinars, along with just spreading the word about how the technology is helping you to achieve your goals at your organization. Sharing knowledge is another. We have mentorship programs within the Zowe community. So if, for example, you have an interest in learning about something specific, and Dan's going to go into the details about the technology, we have a means to help you learn that technology by pairing you with somebody who already knows that technology. We also have, I'm going to call them project management type roles. Every quarter we go through planning, just as though we were a vendor, just as though we were, you know, a privately owned product, because it makes sense to do so. And we need folks that can manage those meetings, help all of the different squads align their goals with the expectations throughout the community. Centered around the technical steering committee, but still, we need people with skills that can help coordinate typical project management type tasks. And then finally, advocacy and communication. How many of you have built a web page, modified a web page, understand Git? Don't understand Git. That's where I was coming from. Had no idea what it was. Didn't know what the word pull meant in the technology world. But by contributing to the project, I learned what it was. I do code reviews, not necessarily on every piece of code, but maybe on a web page change. Somebody needs a code review, I can do that. You could too. Why all of this matters is because it's the combination of all these players that strengthen the project. Again, we have people that are in this project because they want to be there, because they're making a difference. And when you think about it, we have experts in viewpoints and folks who have skill sets from all walks of life contributing to this project. It's nearly impossible for us to fail because all of us together strengthen the project.
All right, so I'm a technical guy. I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone and talk a little bit about career. And we're gonna look at my career as an example of a career that's been greatly impacted by contributing to Zowe. And should you choose to contribute to Zowe, right, your individual results may vary, mileage may vary, but that just means you could achieve more, and you can do more than I've been able to do by contributing to Zowe. Now, the title of the session is about taking your career to a new level. And that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people, right? It could mean a career progression, jumping a band, a salary increase, new role or responsibility. But for me, it means a very specific thing. And it comes down to your perspective and how you answer a simple question. Do you enjoy your job? There's a bunch of quotes on this topic. The one I think that fits best is the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And so I wanted to share a few milestones through my career and how I've answered this question. So I got to a place, thanks to contributing to Zowe and using the tooling, where I could say, I do love my job and I love what I do. I started out as a math major. So math in my program requires an introductory to programming, C++, C, and assembler for Intel x86 platforms. And that lands me a job with CA at the time, Computer Associates, in joining their associate software engineering program. So CA was trying to address the skill shortage that we had in the mainframe. Right, there's an aging workforce, a lot of experience that's going to be retiring soon, and they need somebody to fill the gap. So the ASE program was born, and I was part of the first US class, and they gathered 21 of us from across the country for a 2-month training program in Plano, Texas to teach us mainframe. So we learned ISPF, and Rex, TSO, assembler development, JCL, and all the works. And then after that, you transfer to a product team. I was assigned to IDMS, it's a database product with CA. And I'm an assembler developer. So I'm using mostly assembler, ISPF, and Endeavor. And this is a little misleading. I wasn't actually an ISPF editor person. I used Roscoe. Anybody ever use Roscoe? Yes. Oh, yeah, not many people know Roscoe. But this was my life. Assembler in ISPF using Endeavor. So, if I could go back in time and ask the early 20-year-old version of me, do I enjoy my job? I'm not a deep thinker, I'm not a very reflective person. What might have I said if somebody asked me that question? I mostly enjoy my new truck. So, remember, I'm a first-gen college student. This is like my first real job. And I graduate with a bunch of student loan debt, so I buy a truck, which means I finance the truck. And I was mostly excited about my career for what it could afford in my lifestyle. Fast forward a little bit, I'm still doing assembler development, graduate out of Roscoe, now I'm doing ISPF assembler development, and I'm part of the CA Common Services team. So I transfer, IDMS, I was based in Massachusetts, and I transferred to Pittsburgh, and now I'm working on CA Common Services. After probably 7 or so years in that role, I get reorged into a networking product called NetMaster. And in that reorg, I'm assigned to a 6-month project learning HTML, cascading style sheets, JavaScript, and Git. So in college, I only did C assembler development in a Unix type environment. In mainframe, I'd only done ISPF and assembler development. Now I'm exposed to something that's like completely different. JavaScript and newer technologies. Yeah, so the subplot is that when I was first joined CA, single, since this time now I'm married, kids, minivan and a mortgage. And I'm unsure about my mainframe career. So what I've noticed is that a lot of the people I joined with had been leaving the company, and they've been leaving mainframe altogether. So they trained us up on mainframe. A lot of our mentors had put a lot of time and care to see that their product and the mainframe was sustained, and everybody's leaving for other careers. And even people that had joined after me were also leaving. So if you would ask me then, do I enjoy my job? I wanted to try something else. To me, the writing was on the wall. This was the future, modern tools, modern languages and development on the platform. So I traded mainframes for trains. I went to a company called Thales. It's a French-based company, and I was in their transportation division. Had nothing to do with mainframes. And I was assigned to a project for West Virginia University. And if anybody's ever been there, they have these little yellow cars that go around the campus. It's a personal rapid transit system. And the project, do you have a question?
I was just going to say, it kind of looks like what you see at the airport.
Yeah,
Those trams.
They're very old and very unreliable. So we're putting on an autonomous rail system. They have operators that watch CCTV, and they watch these trains, and they issue commands and send the trains all around the guideway to pick up the students. So we're putting in a heuristics-based approach to balance trains across the guideway and move students. And again, though, I'm using C++. This is my first exposure to using Visual Studio, and some precursors to VS Code. Atom, Nuclide Editor, and a little bit of VS Code. I'm also writing a lot of Python, Ruby, CI/CD pipelines, very different world. So, if you would have asked me at this time, do I enjoy what I do? I really liked riding the trains. So, when you implemented some logic, you got to go down to site and actually sit on the train and see if it behaved the way you expected, after a lot of testing, of course.
So that was systems acceptance testing?
Yes, it was super fun.
Ride the train.
But I missed a key detail. So when I was on the IDMS team, does anyone have you wouldn't know this, but what's a guess of the next youngest person on my team? How many years experience that person had?
20 or 25?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right, 20 years. So the new girl on the team, 20 years experience, and then there's us. And I was blown away that those people, they were just pouring themselves into people like myself and others that joined. They had spent 20 years and more of their life on this product, and they wanted to see it continue on after they retired. And so I definitely missed that community, and I missed the platform. I liked assembler, I liked low-level languages. And one other thing happened at this time is I got a phone call. So from a former colleague, another one of our mutual former colleagues unexpectedly passed away. And so they asked if I would be interested to come back and take his place. And so yes, I did want to come back. And I left the trains, come back to mainframe, the people I missed, and the platform that everybody had invested so much in me to learn. And it was this year or the year after I joined. I did, over Thanksgiving break, a first POC of what ultimately becomes Zowe CLI and Zowe Explorer. And now I have assembly language, and I'm working in all of the tools I love, with the platform I love, and the people that I love. So, pretty cool story. I mentioned I'm using Git, and Assembler, and Metal C, and VS Code. And so if you were to ask me now, and you could ask me now, I do love my job. And I've also seen a lot of people joining the mainframe, some of them also rejoining, and we feel like this is a career that we want to keep and sustain.
Can you feel it? Can you feel the energy? Yeah.
And I didn't add a bullet point, but I did get to buy another truck. So. And it fits all my kids. It's awesome. All right, so for folks that kind of familiar with Zowe, what tools or technology do you think that we're using?
Assembler probably.
Assembler?
Assembler.
Okay.
Should be using.
REST APIs?
C
C?
and some networking.
Yes. Yeah. All of them. So we have lots of tools and frameworks and languages within Zowe. And the reason I share this is that if you're oriented more towards back-end type development, we have languages for that. If you're oriented towards front-end, somewhere in the middle, there's probably something for you to contribute if you're into technology. And I have 9 languages listed here. This is not to enumerate all of the languages that are used, but just some of the common ones that you might encounter. We have components of Zowe that run on COS, macOS, Linux, Windows, of course. We have stuff there. Java runtime, Node.js, many different testing frameworks, CI/CD tools.
Excuse me. That's quite a diverse selection of technologies. Was that driven by the developers or strategic direction to implement the best language for the job to be done?
Yeah, I would say that the developers did the latter, right? They chose
what they were comfortable with and they could achieve the goal with.
Yeah, well, so for example, if we see the trend in VS Code, if you want to write a VS Code extension, it's Node.js runtime and you're writing TypeScript.
Yeah.
So that's the only real choice. If you're writing an IntelliJ extension, you're going to be writing in Java or Kotlin. So some of the tools kind of dictate the language.
Yeah.
We talked about, and I'll share again, but we're doing some native back-end code, and we're calling into the JES SSI. So only one way I know to do that, that's through an assembler. So the tooling often dictates the language. Rust was kind of one exception. We had we wrote this daemon mode for Zowe CLI to make it more performant. And we were between a couple of languages. We could have done it C, Golang, Rust. We picked Rust.
But I think it's important to note, though, I'm sorry, my mic died, that, I mean, none of this necessarily gets through because somebody just wants to contribute a piece of code. We do have a technical steering committee to ensure that it makes sense for the project.
All of our code is in GitHub, so GitHub Actions is a natural fit for running CI/CD tools. And I probably just picked just a diverse set of images too, that had good logos and images.
Cartoon character.
Yeah. And the reason we use so many different tools and languages is that there's a lot of components to Zowe. So in the back end running on mainframe, there's microservices, REST APIs, we mentioned that. They're intended to be accessed through the API mediation layer. So a given set of tools and languages are used for the back-end stuff. And then on client side, we have we have some number of SDKs, client-side SDKs that help easily call to these back-end APIs. And then applications that are ideally built on top of those SDKs. So for example, Zowe CLI and Zowe Explorer. So that's the reason why there's so many tools and languages. Any given project isn't going to have all of those languages. So if you were interested to contribute to a specific project, and you find a tool that's interesting or a technology, or you can browse all of this. I'm showing the repo for Zowe CLI. It's very common that every repo within Zowe is going to have a README that gives you an organizational layout of what the project is, and many other things, specifically a contributing guideline. So if you want to contribute, we have documentation that helps you with that. And I want to highlight something we talked about on a previous session if you happen to attend because of the interesting technologies that's involved within it. But we could just as well look at an example project for some other repo within Zowe. And this is the Zowe Remote SSH capability. Now, for those that were not in the previous session, what we showed here is that we have a version of Zowe Explorer with this SSH extension that you can download and install on your workstation. And it will connect to ZOS over SSH and self-deploy its own backend. And then when it self-deploys, you can use Zowe Explorer to browse jobs, datasets, OSS files. And that's a really cool project in and of itself, but the reason I brought it up here is that it has a very diverse set of languages and technologies. And it's a separate extension. It's in a technical preview state, so it's subject to change, and actually already has changed. Very recently, so we have VS Code, APIs, Node.js, and TypeScript calling over SSH, this thing that says Golang. That's going away. It'll be going away in a week or so. But then we're calling it some C++ code, some LC code, and some assembly language code. So if you work on this project, you get to see the things full stack, end to end, from the client side all the way to the assembler, calling it Zowe service. And so just a snippet, I just took some screenshots of some interesting code, but the VS Code extension that wants to install the server, here's the function, the TypeScript function of installing the server. So you can get a screenshot of what that looks like. If you're in the TypeScript and you want to contribute here, you can see what the code looks like. The Golang piece, which is, I have an asterisk on it because it's going away, but here's some code here for that. C++, we wrote testing framework in C++, and I chose to highlight that, but we can call some low-level utilities. This ZMT load is probably calling a ZOS load macro. We have examples of Metal C code. If you're familiar with Metal C is just a mechanism to use the XLC compiler to generate assembler language code for you. And we'll end with some assembly. We do a lot of inline assembly. Some people hate it. I'm kind of a fan. And I think the thing we wanted to highlight here is that Rose had made a point in an earlier discussion on this, right? Pretty incredible resume building tool. If you're able to contribute to a project where you can work full stack, right, even in a single day, of implementing something in the back end and expose it all the way client side. So you can go from assembler to Metal C to C++ and TypeScript. There's opportunities like that with Zowe. This is why, again, another reason why I love my job. This is like the most fun thing I can do in a day.
So if you are trying to contribute, sorry, I never contributed in open source actually. I'm a pure mainframe background. Say that I'm trying to contribute. As a part of project, I will be getting an environment and everything to make sure it is what it is or how it works. For example, if I'm writing an HLASM code, actually,
Yeah.
I'm a similar programmer myself.
Yeah,
So,
the question is, if I want to contribute to Zowe, I probably need a mainframe environment to be able to test.
yes.
Yeah. So I can answer what most people do, and probably another answer. But typically, folks that are contributing to Zowe do have access to a mainframe environment at their site. So they test and develop against that. More generically, general purpose mainframe environment. Do you have the answer to that, Rose?
Because
You were
like,
changing your batteries.
I
I
can,
was changing my batteries, but what was your first response was?
That most people who contribute to Zowe,
Yeah,
most people that do contribute, they
Yeah.
use their own existing environments
yeah,
for whatever site that they're at, and that's how they're able to test and develop. Our tests and automation run against the system hosted in Marist University,
yes.
but generically, somebody who doesn't have a mainframe environment, even at their site, is there a way they can contribute?
It would be to connect with the community to figure out whether or not we could do so on the Mirror system, which is the system that essentially is Zowe's official test system. That is a problem, by the way, right? Most other
Yeah.
open source projects kind of have the ability to test
Whereas
what it is that you're contributing.
if I do the same kind of open source in a distributed environment, I can test it in my local machine.
Yes.
Right,
And
that's right.
most of the thing which I say, whereas if I want to write a HLASM,
Yep,
I work on a company. If I write it over there until
Yeah.
that company contributes, you cannot. So
yeah,
that is a real challenge, right?
yeah.
And
What? Not everybody has a mainframe.
not everybody have access to the personal
Right,
mainframe. You
that's
can't
right.
afford it, right?
And you certainly don't have a personal mainframe. Well, maybe you do. If you do, let me know. But that is a challenge, thank you. Yeah, oh, in the back.
So do any of the sponsors who have mainframes allow other people to come on and use their mainframe if they wanted to do something open source?
Meaning any of the open mainframe project
Yes.
sponsors?
Yeah,
Not
like
that I'm aware of.
Broadcom and IBM,
Yeah,
they have mainframes.
they do. And Open Mainframe Project has a mainframe too. They have a Z15.
Oh, they do.
Yes, and ideally, that's what we want to use for the community. And
See,
Will that happen, or is that a path we should take?
will that happen? We're working on it.
Okay,
Join the community, help us. We're working on it.
okay.
I can't, it's not available now. But let's put it this way. You want to contribute, work with us, and we'll work with you to figure out the best way for you to test your contribution.
Yeah, because it's when you are writing an assembler, like assembling
Right.
is the biggest. It's not the biggest task. That's why you fix a lot of your typo errors actually, right? So that's what I was wondering, like
Yeah.
how.
Well, you can see a little bit of it. You can contribute to this project. If you wrote some assembly code and I think if you open up a pull request, that would not run that,
Yeah. And also it depends on like what version of C you are using as well, because
Yeah.
the instruction set.
The version of the OS.
I see that you use LARL and everything. I assume it's more than Z16, but like
Yeah. But you're talking server side, ZOS side contributions.
yes.
And I guess what we're trying to explain to all of you is that there's way more to it than server-side ZOS contributions. But I love your interest in Z.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk to us.
Yeah, like interested because like you can do a lot with the 64-bit addressing to do that SHS very faster, but like where do I test it, right? At the same time, I send a code to someone and they will be like, after a couple of times, they will be hating actually. I'll be honest with you. I'm bound to make spelling mistakes.
Everybody's bound to make mistakes, for sure. All right, so where are you going to start? We have a Z guy here. Do I have a TypeScript person in the room? Go away. No. I guess the point is that any contribution is a contribution, is an important contribution. And I understand, I think we understand that you all have day jobs. We're fortunate in that this is part of our day job, and yes, that does make a difference. I would also like to encourage you though, because again, we started this conversation by saying, how do you take your career to that next level? How do you add to your resume in your network? This is one way that you can do it. It will benefit you, it will also benefit your company. You have to find that sweet spot, I think, in order for you to justify your contribution. But I would argue that you can find your place in open source, similar to what Dan and I have done, as well as many others. How many others in the room have contributed? I think we did this already, but we have contributors, right? Fernando, Mike, I think we have some folks in the back that have contributed as well.
I believe earlier you mentioned the steering committee.
Steering committee? Mm-hmm.
Does that steering committee publish communications around decisions and factors that influence those decisions?
We have a technical steering committee that meets every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And as a start, you could join those sessions. They're all open, they're all recorded. They're all available at Open Mainframe Project Zowe. And you can speak with any of us and we can connect you in with that schedule and help you to determine what might work for you. Nobody has to attend every meeting. Those of us who lead some of the teams are committed to attending that steering committee meeting, and those of us that lead the teams are committed to be voting members on that steering committee meeting, but nothing is permanent. This is a rotational, ongoing change of leadership hands, if you will, where the community votes on leaders and technical decisions. It truly is a community-driven project. And as I mentioned, everything counts. So even if you have, a bug to pick, or you're totally frustrated with an area of the documentation, it's frustrating for us because we all know that nobody knows it better than you do. And so even if you're willing to partner with somebody in one of the squads to make that difference, to make that dock change for the benefit of everybody as well as yourselves, that in and of itself is a contribution. And remember, everything, any little thing, any little contribution counts. And you know, I just want to say, you know, Dan went through his life story, and I think where you landed was you love what you do. And they say that if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. And that's ultimately what we're trying to get to. And I have to say, and this is our technical steering committee lead, Jakob Bala, and to know us really is to love us. We're a very welcoming bunch, and we really are looking to make the best out of your contribution and the best of the project. So we'll end with, I think we're having, or Joe Winchester from IBM, he did the CBT tape talk. We're having what we're calling a meetup, and I don't know the details. Fernando, do you know the details on where we're going to be?
It'd be in the sandbox, but I don't exactly know.
In the sandbox, 4:30 to 6 tomorrow. We're going to try to gather all sorts of folks in the Zowe community. So if, for example, you're interested in just working with the onboarding squad, which is the squad I lead, and you're interested in getting the word out, you're interested in helping people to understand what Zowe is, how it can perhaps benefit their company, you're interested in helping us to reach out to other mainframe vendors and other customers, project management, again, documentation, anything at all, please consider meeting up with us. It will also help you to troubleshoot any issues that you might be having. And yeah, I think that was it for our Take Your Career to the Next Level. We have a couple more open mainframe project slides here. Zowe is not the only project in OMP. We know there are others, and they're just as important and perhaps offer you other opportunities to expand your resume. If you're interested in looking into any of those, we have a QR code there for you. And all of us, in addition to email at our vendor sites, you know, Broadcom, IBM, what have you, we're also available through all of these other avenues. I also want to mention that we try to do a really good job at posting important webinars to YouTube. So if you follow the Open Mainframe Project Zowe YouTube channel, you'll see our quarterly webinars recorded, and I think we're even posting our demos, our system demos, to that YouTube channel as well. And again, if this is something where you're a YouTube channel or a YouTube expert, again, it's another opportunity to possibly consider contributing. And then finally, my information, Dan's information, if we can do anything at all to help you either on your journey to expand your career or to help with Zowe, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to have you in the community, even if it's just for a tiny bit of time. We think it'll make a difference in your work world and in your own personal growth. Thanks for being here.
Yes, I saw you.